Hello guys, welcome back to another video. For this video we are doing an introduction to Figma. I won't be covering the entire scope of Figma, so there are some things I'll be treating specially as a stand-alone topic, right? But we are going to see majority of what Figma tools are for and how we use this tool. Alright, so I'm creating this video as per request from my student. So to get started with Figma, if you don't have an account, you might have to go to figma.com to create an account and follow through the process. So it should lead you to somewhere like this, right? So I'm in my recent tab. So everything you've done recently will be shown here, basically, right? So here, to jump into Figma, you want to click on design. So I'm going to click on design. When you click on design, this is the interface that will basically open up to you, right? So you have basic interface, nothing serious happening. So we're going to start from this left. Right here, you see the word untitled. It means your document is not titled. You can also see that word up there, right? So you can double click here to change that title to something, let's say Figma for babies. Okay, so you can see the updated straight at the top there. The next thing you see is you are having file and asset. Okay, so like I said, there are some things we'll be treating. So we won't be talking too much about assets. So we'll be treating assets when we are talking components, right? So you basically use asset most of the time when using components in a design, right? So we are not going that deeply in this lesson. So we don't want to go there. So just keep that at the back of your mind. The asset, you use it most of the time for reusable components, for things to reuse in design, right? I'm jumping back to file now. So with file, we notice two things. We have pages here and we have layers here. If I click on the plus right here, I've created another page. You can see the word page 1, page 2. So let's call this page, say mood board for instance. You can call it anything you want, depending on what you're trying to build. So this is mood board. Then let's call this one design. Right, so we have two pages now. You might not notice because we don't have anything here on our canvas. Okay, so for mood board, let's draw a basic rectangle here. All right, so for mood board, we're having a rectangle. You can jump to design. So for design, let's do something circle. So you will see when I switch back to mood board, I have a rectangle. When I switch to design, I have a circle. So what this means is that you can create multiple pages, right? And you can do different stuff on those pages. Yeah. So you can do something like your documentation somewhere in one of your page. Then another page you can do mood board. Another page you can do design, right? So you can do design system with one page, and so on and so forth, right? Hoping you've got the gist. So you can click on multiple pages to create different kind of design, especially if you don't want one thing to be interfering with the other thing, right? So you can just create more pages to keep your work clean. So let's just call this one, let's say research, right? So don't mind the naming convention there. So I'm going to switch back to design. Design is where we are going to be doing the most of the things today. All right, so we push this one to the side. All right, so I'll skip layers for now. I'm coming back to layers, but let's quickly go through all of this too. So you see that for this, you use this to move things around. For and, you use and to move something in your design, like your whole screen basically. So let's say for instance you have rectangle here, and then somewhere here you have your square. If you are looking for your circle, you'd have to move that this way. So in order to do that, you can pick your hand tool. You can use the letter H for shortcut, right? So I can move this thing around like this, pull this right and pull this back. All right, so for scale is to move or increase something proportionally. So if I increase the size of this, you see all the sizes increase proportionally, right, without distorting this the size of this rectangle. If I, for instance, use move, because move now doesn't just move things, it also reduces stuff. So if I reduce with move, I can reduce whichever way I want, right? So if I want to increase it proportionally, I might have to hold shift to do that. You see, so the basic difference between move and scale is that scale moves all of your item at the same time, right? So you'll be experiencing more of scale when you go deep into like designing some elements in design, especially as layout, right? You might need to use scale to scale things, everything at once, especially if you're using frame. So it wouldn't work when you're using move too, right? So more to that when we get to like the second um, series in this class. Then we have frame. So once you click on the word frame, you can see F there for shortcuts. All these options is going to pop out. So you have option for iPhone from iPhone 17 down to Android medium, right? So if you click on iPhone 17, that we have the screen jumping out at us here. Okay, click on frame again. You can click on any iPhone of your choice here. You can also switch to tab, wrap any tab of your choice. So we have a tab screen showing up there. You can also move to the left, click on iPhone on frame again. You can click on desktop. So for desktop, we can do MacBook Air. You can do frame again, click on frame, and then pick TV, right? So the gist here is you have a lot of frames to work with. You can use presentation, right? You can use watch, you can use paper, social media. For social media, we have Twitter posts and all of those things, right? So Figma has made this very easy for us because we wouldn't want to like draw a frame by ourselves, right? Because for most of us, we might not know what the sizing should be. For Figma, by clicking on frame, you can see, for instance, you can see the sizes, by pixels here. Because watch this. If I'm previewing this, let's say I'm designing and I preview this, so you can come up here, display here to preview. If I click on preview here, so this thing is going to load up. When I click on preview, you see my screen is working, right? I can put any shape in here. You see that this is different when you're doing it manually. If you click on frame, you can obviously like draw out the frame by yourself. So let's say this is the frame I drew out by myself. You can see that it's lacking sort of. See this blank space bottom and blank space to the top, right? So some people can even draw their frame this way and design many screens just to find out that what they did was actually bad. Yeah, so you don't need to bother yourself to do that manually. You can just use all the sizes that Figma has made available for us, right? Alternatively, if you understand sizes, you can also do that manually by yourself. I'm going to close this for now, right? So that's how frame basically works. I'll be dealing more with frame like in a bit. Let's just go to the next one. So we have session. The way I like to treat session for beginner is to draw out basic session, give this, say we are giving this kind of this grayscale color, right? We can pull all of our design into this section. So let's say I have this one, Ctrl D, right? So I can call this section, for instance, onboarding. All right, so like I said, this is like very basic, right? So section is not just restricted to this alone. There's so much to do with that, but I wouldn't want to go too deeply into that. So let's just take this for now. Moving on to the next thing. So we have basic shapes, right? We have rectangle, we have line. So you can draw all of these whichever way you want, but to get a perfect shape, you see if I draw a rectangle this way, it's not looking perfect. Once I hold on shift on my keyboard, it becomes like a perfect square, right? If I leave my shift now, you see you can do that in any size we wish. So same goes for circle. If I draw my circle without holding shift, you can have any kind of circle, oval kind of shape. If you hold on shift, it gets perfect, it becomes a perfect circle. You can do that also for polygon, hold shift for polygon, right? It gets perfect. We can do this for a star too, right? Draw a star, hold your shift to get perfect star. Okay, so we can, for this last option, yeah, so let's say I'm clicking on this image, right, and I click on this here and I click on image of video. So I'm going to grab an image, from my local computer. Let's say I'm grabbing this, right, and I'm putting it in here. You see, so you can place image or video inside of anything you've selected. So let's say I'm selecting the circle for this. I'm going to click here again. So Ctrl Shift K for your shortcut there. I'm going to click on that. Then let's pick, say something like this. Right, then I splash that here. Alright, so you see that it enters into that shape. Right, so that's what that last option is used for. Okay, I'm going to move to the next thing. These are pencil. Alright, so for pencil, I wouldn't want to go too deeply into pencil, but let's do something basic. If you click here, you move to your next point, you click, you go down, you click, come back here, you click, you go back up. You see, as you're going back up, pay attention. You see that black asterisk coming out, or that black dots under the shape, under the pencil shape. So that's your connector, right? So once you click, it connects the whole shape, right? So we're having it as a stroke now. You can remove your stroke, stay there. You can add a fill to it. So for your fill, let's just leave it as gray. Yeah. So pencil, you can do any custom design with your pencil, right? But it doesn't just end there. So with pencil, you still have some other options here. So something like bend, right? So I wouldn't take this pencil too deeply too, but we do more of this in the next series in Figma. Your bend tool, you can go inside any of this straight line and you see, make it bend. So you have this your handle here. You can use your handle to straighten out things, whichever direction you want. Yeah. So that's with pencil. You can also bend things using pencil just by drawing it manually. If I click here and I move here, right, and I make another click, I get a straight line. You see? But when I move down to another point, instead of clicking and hold down my keyboard, like click down and drag my mouse. Get that? So instead of just clicking like so, if you click, you get a straight line. This time around, I'm going to click and hold down, then move my mouse. So I get something curved there. You see? Now I'm still having this curve because I did a curve here, right? So Figma will think I want to continually curve stuff. Alright, so to come out of this, I can click on escape, the escape key on my keyboard. Right, then I can come back here, see that dot again under the pencil. I can click here to reconnect. Click here and click here. That's all. You see that? Okay, so that's what we are going to be doing with pencil. So we're going to leave pencil like that. I'm going to move to the next tool, pencil. So for pencil is doing something with free hand basically, right? So you can draw any shape you like to draw with your hand, right? Okay, so terrible at drawing. So you can draw any shape using pencil. Okay, I'm going to move to the next tool, text. So we have two properties here, text and type on path. So for text, you can basically type anything, type any. I'm going to increase this. So you type anything. You see that? So you can basically like type anything with your pen, with your text tool. Yeah, so we have these properties we'll be coming into like in a bit. Then we have this other tool to type on path. So if I click on this and I click on my frame, you see that I have this like circular path I can type on. So I can literally like type anything. Okay, see that? So if you click out, you have something like this. Alright, so I would want to go like too deep into this. Remember, this is for like a very fresh beginner in Figma that doesn't understand anything. Right, it's nothing very complex we are going to be doing. We'll be compounding this knowledge as this series goes on. Then we have a comment. So comments is you literally like dropping comments. Oh, this looks good. Right, so you can send that comment there. So it's going to be having G is Benga. My name is Benga. Right, so you can see once you create an account, Figma is going to put this icon there. So that's your personal like profile, right? And you can collaborate with other people. So how do you collaborate? Say all of these things we've done, you want to send to your clients, right? Beautiful designs we've done here. You can click on the share button here and type anybody's email you'd like to share this with. So let's say I'm sharing with I have a lot of students, so let's say I'm sharing with Anu, right? One of them. So I can literally click to invite her, right? So you have options to ask them to view or to also make them an owner. So right now, this person I added now, you can see I've sent invite to her, but it's saying they can only view. So I can also move this and ask them to edit. So it means when they're getting this file, they can edit. So if she was live here with me designing, if she knows I sent her something, so we won't be having only G profile here. So in our case, her name is Anu, right? So you'll be having another profile A. Yes, so it means two people are collaborating on this page or working on this page, right? So she can see my comment. So once she drops out, so I'm going to see something A, right? So with Figma, if you over on this, the name pops up, right? Or the comment pops up, and you can see the comment that was left there. Okay. All right. So I'll be moving to the next two, and that's these actions here. Okay. So I'm skipping some tools deliberately, right? I'll be coming to all of those things in part 2 of this in the course of our learning. If I click on this, you'll see basic things here, right? Things like your assets, plugins, and all. If I click on assets, right, so you can find your asset by name. If you click on plugin, you can find everything in your plugin here. Okay, so let's say for instance you are new to Figma and you want to start designing, right? So there are things we use in Figma to make your work very fast and easy. So you wouldn't want to do things from like the scratch. So for instance, Iconify. If you search for Iconify on Figma on this tab, please make sure you're not under all. So all is if you click on all, it's going to show you like all of these things, all of the stuff you have, like the plugins you have, right here and all. You need to click on plugin if you're a starter, so you can like grab those things you're looking for. So if you search for something icon, right, so everything related to icon is going to like jump out, right? So you can click on, so Iconify is the one I use. If you click on Iconify, it's going to load up there. All right, so with Iconify, let's say I'm looking for like home. See, everything related to the home icon is going to like jump out. Okay, in your numbers, you can grab any one of the chairs, just drag into your frame. You can see that I'm having my home icon here. Okay, you can drag out as much as you would like to pull out. You can search for let's say user. All right, so everything related to user icon will also jump out. See that? So you can just basically like pull things out basically using Iconify. So a lot of icons or plugins you might want to use. All right, so if I switch to plugin now, you can also search for animated. You can search for emoji. All right, so I saw that in my list. Right, so you can use animated emoji. Right, so this is installed for me already. So if you use animated emoji, you'll find that I can pull any of this emoji right here and just put them straight to my frame. I'm going to drag on this and just push down here. So we have the icon there. If I preview now using shortcut shift and space, if I preview now using shift and space, you see this emoji inside of it, right? And you can see that it is obviously animated. See, if I pull out this icon, right, and I dump it on this frame, if I preview this, you see that we're having this here, but you're not seeing this icon here, and that's because this icon this emoji rather is not inside of this frame. So let's pull it out, and I'm going to pull it back inside like that. So we should be seeing it right now. Okay, so you can see that the emoji is actually like animated, right? So that's the way this plugin thing work. You can grab anything you're looking for, just think of it, search for it, and it's going to like jump out. right? Just come here, search for everything you're looking for, right? And you can pick. You can see I have charts, I have background remover, right? I have emojis, I have brand fetch to look for logos and all, right? So you can do all of this and more using Figma. All right, so that's all to all of this too. So we have other option here, Figma Draw. We have development mode, right? That is going to probably be for another part in this series. Okay, so having said all of these things, having talked about all of this too, I'm going to move to another section, right? Because I have too much going on my canvas here. I want to move to a fresh one. So let's move back to mood board so we can have a fresh start. So the only thing we have here on this mood board is a rectangle. Yeah, I want to talk more. I want to dwell here a little bit. You see, because most of the things we have on the other side is actually too much. I want to take my time to explain layers. So I have rectangle drawn here in this layer. Okay, so anything you draw out in your canvas is going to be reflecting down here in your layers. If I come to this shape, for instance, and I pick say circle, ellipse, and I draw out a basic circle, and you see it is showing right on there. So anything you draw basically is going to be reflecting in your layers. It's going to be reflecting in your layers. Okay, so like I said I was coming to frame like in a bit, so let's move straight into frame. Right, I'm going to push this to the side like so, and I'm going to click on frame. So let's use iPhone 17. Okay, so what's the difference between a frame and a basic shape, say a rectangle for instance? Okay, so if I push this circle inside of this frame like that, you will see that this frame has taken in this circle, right? It means that if I move this frame around, the circle moves with it. Okay, so if you check in your layer, you will see that circle is under iPhone. Now don't confuse it with this. Okay, so let me deliberately move this iPhone down here like so. You see that these two, like, they are up there, and this iPhone is having ellipse, so it's a frame. Now how do you know frame in Figma? Anything with this hashtag symbol, right, is what is called a frame in Figma. And you will see that this layer is pushed forward. It's not like this other two, right? That's how you know that there's something under a frame in Figma. If I draw a polygon also inside of this frame, you see that we now have two elements inside of this frame. So see this frame as a mother element and everything inside as a child component. So these are children, this circle and this polygon are children of this mother. And you know, a mother can direct the child wherever they want. So we move the frame, the child or the children now moves with the mother, right? So it's different from saying a rectangle. If I draw a rectangle now, okay, and I make the fill of this rectangle white, you see, and I pull in, let's say, this shape, can you see it is not even taking it in? Frame acts differently. If I push this thing towards this frame, you see a blue bounding box telling you that this thing is about to enter this frame. So if I leave it, you see that it has entered the frame. Yeah, but for shapes like rectangle, it doesn't act that way. You see, so if I pull this, it's not even going to fit. It can't stay. So let's say I right click on this frame now and I send it to back. Okay, now I can see our polygon. Yeah, remember what I said, the mother component should be able to move the child. So let's say this is the mother. Now we're trying to move it. Can you see the polygon inside is not moving? So it means that a rectangle cannot be like a frame. All right, so there are ways we can actually make a rectangle a frame, but we're coming into all of those in a more in another class basically, right? Okay, I hope that is actually very clear. So rectangles, circles cannot act like a frame, you see. So I'm going to pull this way. All right, now pay attention to all of this, right? You see that this rectangle we're having now, do not confuse it to be inside of this frame, right? Because anything that is inside of the frame will move with it. And you can see obviously that in this layer, the shape, this rectangle too, is not inside. Anything inside the frame will be having this blue selection. So we have iPhone 17 and ellipse selected. It means they belong together. Rectangle is not inside of it because it is not pushed forward. All right. If I move this out like so, I can move it, right? So all of these things are moving, they are in the layer, right? But they're not part of this frame. I'm going to push this rectangle inside of this place. Okay, so we have two elements there. Now, if anything is inside of the frame, you get an arrow beside of this frame icon. So I can collapse that. Okay, I can expand that. If I delete everything inside of this frame, you see the arrow will not be there anymore. It means there's nothing inside of that. I'm going to do Ctrl Z. Okay, now we have all of this. I'm going to talk about layers work. I'm going to talk about how layers work in a bit, right? So it is safe to assume that all of these shapes, all the shapes we are having outside here, they are not in a frame. Okay, so I'm selecting them. They are not in a frame. They are outside of the canvas, basically, right? The only thing that is inside of the frame are all of these, right? And I can move them, like I said. Okay, now we have things inside of this frame, right? Which one is at the top? You can see rectangle 1 is at the top, ellipse is the second element. Okay, so let's change the color of this. Let's type red in here. I'm going to come here and type red. Okay, I'm going to move this. Yeah, so you can see what is at the top and what is at the bottom. This is the one at the back and this one is the one at the front. So let's say we're having another shape, in this case polygon. Let me draw the polygon out so there. Okay, right, so now that they are in the same color, you might feel like probably this circle is at the top of polygon, right? So that you'll be mistaken thinking that. Now you need to watch your layers to learn how layers work, right? They work like a book, you see. So whatever is at the top, right, something like this polygon now is the one in the front, this rectangle is the second, and ellipse is the last. Okay, so this rectangle is the second, this polygon is the one at the top. Let's change the color of this polygon to black. All right, so now you see that the polygon is actually on top of the circle. Now, because the polygon is not overlapping with this rectangle, you might feel like the polygon is not the one at the top. All right, so let me increase the size of this polygon. Now you see that polygon is the one at the top, the rectangle is the one on the second layer, and then the circle is the one at the back. You see, so learn from your layers. You will never get it wrong. Looking at this place, sometimes you might confuse it, but checking your layers here, you actually will get what is coming first and what is last. Okay, so we also have a feature in Figma where you can right click. So let me click on this polygon. If I right click on the polygon, I can send to back. Okay, you see, so I've sent it to the back, right? So it's at the back now, so automatically we can look to say this is the first, this is second, this one is the third, right? So even if we change the color of this to this, right, we wouldn't want to confuse which one is first and second, because like I said, we need to watch here. So you can see rectangle is first, circle is second, polygon is last. Yeah, okay, I'm sure we are following. Now if I right click on this also, I can send this to back. It means now that circle is not the one at the top, polygon is the one at second, and rectangle is the last thing we have in here, you see. But now if we say you want to move what is at the middle, right, or what is at the last to the middle, that's in between this polygon and ellipse, you might not be able to right click and do that, because all the options you have is to bring to front and send to back, right? So we have this bracket there as shortcut. Yeah, so how will you do that? You want to move this rectangle in between the ellipse and polygon. Okay, so you can also use your layers to drag stuff. So if I click on this layer, I can drag it so until I get a black line. You see that black line is now in between the two of them. If I leave it, right, so it is positioned now. My rectangle now is at the the second layer now. You see, I can also click on the ellipse, the one at the top. I can push it down. All right, so that's now at the back. See. All right, I'm hoping this is actually very clear. Okay, I'm going to move this to this side. So let me say one last thing about layers, right? Everything here can be named. You can rename stuff here. So this iPhone 17, this is it here. It's an iPhone 17 one. If I duplicate, it will say iPhone 17 2. If I duplicate, while iPhone 17 3, right? So it's better to always name things so you can keep track. You can keep track of your work. So let's say we are calling this home. We call this can double click here to rename this. Alternatively, you can also come and double click and name this about, so it updates there. And then this last one, you can double click here and also name it contact. You see, so we have home, about, and contact. Also, you can collapse this and open this up. This rectangle, you can name it front. You can name a polygon. A polygon is the one at the middle according to the arrangement we are seeing here. You can double click here and name it middle. Then the circle, you can double click here and name it last. Alright, so it means we can rename our layers here to keep track of our work and to keep things clean. You see, so everything outside here and not in a frame, you see, and everything that is not in a frame cannot act it cannot act the way a frame should act. Alright, so I can also like manually click a frame here and drag on all of these elements. You see, everything enters into a frame. You see, so now everything is inside of a frame. Now nothing is outside anymore. Okay, so you can keep things outside, things like your inspiration for design, anything you want to keep as inspiration, you can keep it outside of your canvas, right? So you can see what you're doing and what you're trying to design, especially if you're creating design. You see, so let's keep that at the back of our mind. So now that I draw a frame manually, you can see that Figma named it frame 1 because we didn't like follow the custom frame they actually has provided here. And like I said, you can double click here. You can double click here to rename it. So say anything we try, let's call this one container. You can also rename all of these things here. Alright, I hope layers is actually clear now. Okay, so we have other things to talk about on layers. We have things like this lock icon. So if I toggle on this, it means that this frame cannot be moved. The container frame, see, it's saying lock now. I can't move it. It is like locked in. I can also hide it. Now, it is hidden, it's not deleted. There are two different things. So if I unhide it, I can see a frame, but I cannot move it. Right, so there are some designs you just want to lock in, so it doesn't distract the other things you are doing. If I unlock this, I can hide it. It is in my frame, it's available, but it's been hidden. Right, it's different from saying you click on this and delete. Right, you see container is no longer in this layer. Okay, Control Z to get my container. Okay, so if you over on all of this, you get it feature to lock and hide. If you open this, you can also do that for the child element inside of the frame. You can say for this one, you're hiding this, and then you're having this, your polygon, right, as the only child element you want displayed. You see? So please keep that at the back of your mind. So let's move on to something quite better. Let's move on to design. Now we have like two tabs here. I'm sure we spoke about this prototype preview here. So for your preview, you can preview any frame. You can click on any frame at all. Remember, you can't preview rectangle. Yeah. If I click on any shape, because most of my students confuse frame and rectangle. If you click on this, you cannot come here and say you want to preview this rectangle. Right. What we presented is not a rectangle, it's something different. You see, so this is what is presenting. So what this means is that Figma only presents frames. It doesn't present shape. Right, so although we're having shape inside of this frame, if you click on frame, you see it presents this and the shapes inside. But if you click on this shape, you see it cannot present shape. Yeah, it can't present shape. Okay, so the shortcut to do a presentation is shift and space. So we also have another option, present. Present is going to open a new tab entirely for you instead of just previewing on screen. If I click on this large screen here, you see I'm having this preview here, right? But sometimes, especially if you're doing web design, you want something larger, yeah, so you want to click here and do present instead. So for the other option, we have to present. If you click on present, Figma is going to open a whole new tab for you. So it's different from the from this presentation, from this preview. You're going to have your design open up in your design tab, but for this other one, it opens up a new tab for you basically. Right, so that's how that works. Okay, so this is actually very useful, especially if you're designing something related to website, big screen sizes, because you see the kind of our container here is the size, the width of this is 1230. So but looking at it with a phone, it looks a little bit too small. right? So you need to present to see that on a bigger screen. Okay, so I spoke about the share icon. I'm going to leave that as it is. So you're going to leave all of this for now, components, right? And all of this, might have to treat all of this in part 2. Yeah, but I'm going to talk about position for now. Okay, so I'm going to use a basic shape for this. I'm going to click on, okay, let's use rectangle. I'm going to click on a rectangle. I'm going to draw out like so. Let's just cancel this for now. See, I'm writing I am. Okay, you see, this position thing is disabled. The only thing that makes this position stuff enabled is when you're trying to align 2 elements. You get that? So if I hold on to shift here and I click on this shape, you see immediately that this is enabled, right? I can left align this, right? I can right align this, and I can align this to the right. So we have right, middle, and left. So see all of this alignment, right, as an horizontal alignment. So everything is on a straight line, right? Okay, so what happens if I want to align this thing here in the middle, but I want it to be at the top? That's where we have this vertical alignment, you see. Okay, so that means I can do stay at the middle but be at the middle at the top. That's me clicking this top align here. Okay, so what if I want it to be aligned here at the bottom left here? So what I would do is to first align it to the left like so, then come to where to bottom, you see. So we have it at the bottom here. I can say be at the middle but let the alignment be left. I can also say let the alignment be right. You see that? I really believe this is making sense, because you see Figma already made it very easy for us by leaving these lines to direct us as to how this thing works. So you can see the tiny line here saying left. You can see that tiny line here in the middle, so it means this is a center alignment. You can see the tiny line here saying right. Okay, so this is left, this is middle, this is right. So the line in this instance is at the top. It means this one is going to the top, but here it's saying middle, so it's going to return to the middle. It's on the same bottom, right? So I can move it to the middle, top, middle, bottom. I can move it to the left. I can do top, middle, bottom again. All right, so I'm believing you understand how all of this works. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to move this. So after position, we have this x and y position. So it's just basically the position of the x and y axis of these elements are moving. So if I move it up here, it's saying it's at 3164 position. Y is minus 437. You see that? So this is just talking basically about position. But you see this one here, this one is for rotation. If I click on this and do 45, the text rotates 45 degree, right? I don't know if you get what I'm doing. Okay, so the text can rotate with 5 degrees. Now this one, if you click on this, right, it rotates this thing like a 90 degree. Can you see hovering on this? It's a 90 degree, right? So it moves right 90 degree. If I click on this again, 90 degrees, 90 and 90. So like so. This other one is reflect, right? So you can flip things. So I can flip it the other way. I can click again to flip. So this one is going to do it the other top and bottom. So I can flip up, I can flip bottom. Okay, so that works for shapes too. Let me just, okay, let's use this instead. All right, so we can flip this. We can flip it this way, that way, this way. We can flip it this way, then flip it back. All right, so I believe you understand how this works. Yeah, so for layout here, if I type 400 here, the width, the size of the shape increases, right? If I type 600, right? All right, so this basically affects like the size of anything, like frame, shape, and all. So if I click this shape, for instance, I can make the width 100 wider, you see, and 300 shorter, right? So that's how that works. Then for appearance, if you click on this eye, you didn't know what should happen. We saw that with layer. All right, it will hide that, you see. Okay, so for appearance, how long or how visible do you want an element to be? Is at 100% now. If I put it to 50%, you see it's start getting faint. If I say 20%, so more faint, you can still see it there. If you say 1%, you can obviously see it anymore. You see, but it doesn't mean it's not still there. It's still there, but now very faint. So let's keep it to 100%. Okay, so now we are having this element. This element is called corner radius. You see, so you can see like the box showing those 4 boxes. So Figma has helped you to annotate this to make it easy. So let's want our corner radius to be 40 on all sides. Okay, you can see that everything got rounded by 40 pixels. All right, alternatively, you can click on any shape. You see this dot inside of the shape is also corner radius. You can drag to adjust the sizes manually like that. So okay, so let's see for this shape. Yeah, we've done all sides to be 40, but we want this left and this top right, the top the left bottom and the top right to be sharp, right? So you click on this icon here for individual corners. If I click here on this icon, I have all of the shapes, you know. So we can see this one to be set to 0. You see, I can also set this to 0. All right, so I have this kind of shape going on where this place and this place is sharp, this place and this place is rounded. Okay, so I'm sure we understand that. So we want to change color now. How do we change colors? This thing has been set to gray and red. It's been saying gray, red, black. All right, so this is not an occult. You see, you can change that by coming to this view. So anything you click on Figma, you see the color here. So anything I'm clicking, the colors are like showing there. So you can do this. You can click on this here and change color. You see. All right. So if I click on this, for instance, I can come into this, right, and drag. I can drag on all of this color just by moving my mouse around, right? So let's say I'm tired of red. So we have this color swatch, right? You can move this color, right? So I can move it to green too. You see that? I can move it to blue and choose this purple now, and choose the shade of purple I want. You can do dark purple, you can do royal purple, right? You can also come down to our infamous red. You see, you can move it down to get something dark, tan red. Okay, now we're having some other options down here. You see, I think our red is getting too much. Let's use purple this time. You see, this side is opacity. It's the same thing with this 100% here. All right, so if I push down like so, you start getting faint. Remember that thing we did with appearance. There are two different functions. So this one works for color, right? Appearance can work for anything, shape, boxes, frame, and all of those things. Yeah, but this one is for the color, right? So we're turning the color to making it faint, right? You can also like type it there manually. You can do like 20 for your color here, right? To make your color very faint. So you can see that Figma has already like divided the color. One part is solid and one part is light. This to tell you that you have opacity on this in this shape. So I'm going to push this up. You see, so you can use any kind of color value. You can use RGB, right? So if you know how RGB number works, you can like impute the number. You can use any value, right? Depending you understand how all of this thing work. So this one is for CSS, right? So if you do front end, you should understand how this works. So we have HSL and we have HSB. Okay, I'll jump back to X. X is a infamous value we use, right? So if you know your X, you can impute any number there to get any color, right? But if that's hard for you, you can actually like move around to get the colors. Okay, so you will see that you're having on this page, right? What this means is that these are all the colors available right now on this page. So all the colors I'll be popping down here are all the colors we've used on this page, basically. You see that? So if I jump down to say green now, and I select green, okay, you come back, voila, we have green now. Okay, so it means any color you're adding to this page is going to be updating here. This is why when we get to design system, we are going to teach you how to create like systems to get your design to be consistent, so you don't have your work doesn't look haphazard. Okay, so let's move this faster. I'm going to click on say this pink. Come here. This value here, right? I'm going to just treat few topics here. Okay, so the first one is this gradient. So if you click on this gives you like pure solid color, nothing fancy, just something solid basically. If I click on the second option here, that's for gradient. So we have like 4 types of gradient. We have linear, right? Linear is this, like it just blends color. You can come down to this white, that white circle there, or the white one at the top here. You can move things around. You see that? You can move things around basically. You can do that for radial too. So radial is like you're going to be having like something circular in the middle. Okay, we have angular, yes. So you can also move same way we did earlier, and we have diamond. Okay, let's just keep it as linear for now. Okay, so for linear, we can change our colors. Yeah, so let's say for this one, we want this color to jump to this blue shade. Okay, that looks weird. Okay, so let's push this up like so. You see, so we have these two colors going on. So say you want to add like another color somewhere in the middle, you can click on your plus here. So you see another color is jumping out right here. So if I click on this, so it's highlighting this blue side, and this is where I am. This is where I just added the color. So we can do something. Oh my god. Okay, just forgive me. Right, so we can just do something like so. Okay, so depending on what you're doing, you can move, like I said, you can move this here and like that. So you can move all of those lines around depending on the angle you're trying to like get for the design. Okay, yeah, so I wouldn't want to go further than this. I'm hoping you understand this part, right? So you can also play like with the opacity. You see, if I make this 0, that place becomes very light. That's for the blue, right? If I make it 80%, it gets more saturated. You can leave this one at 20%. You see, it keeps getting lighter and lighter, right? And then we have minus, right? If I click on this minus, it's going to take out that one. So oftentimes and not in Figma, when you see things are minus and plus, plus is to add something, minus is to remove it. So if I grab on that shape for now, if I say star, you see, so for my star we have 5 counts here. We can turn the count, we can make it 8. So we have 8 star here. Okay, now we have a few here. All right, so you see this fill, we can click on minus. If I click minus, doesn't mean the shape has been deleted, it stayed there, only that the fill in that it doesn't have a fill. Okay, so if you understood what I said earlier, we have a plus for stroke. If I click on plus, I'll get an outline, right? So I can change the color of the outline. I can make the outline, I can make it like thick. So let's see 3 pixels. So you see this number here is for like the weight of your stroke. So you can make it, let's say 8. Okay, you can make it outside. You see, you can make that stroke inside, or you can make it at the center. All right, you can also like remove it, right? So you can remove it and just return fill to that. Okay, so going back to what we are doing here, we have texture here. All right, so for this, you see we having like basic texture here, right? So nothing crazy going on with this. I wouldn't want to waste too much time on this. So for this one, we have picture. All right, so you can add image from your computer. You can jump here and then add any picture of your choice. So let's say let's add this gradient stuff. So you see it got added there. Okay, so we have other options here. So you see, edit the image. You can edit the image. Exposure is how dark or how light you want something to get in your design. You see, the more you dab it up, the more light comes in there. So contrast on the other side is, increasing like the sharpness, not sharpness basically, like how smooth those colors or how vibrant you want those colors to be, right? Saturation is different from contrast. Saturation is like increasing the hue of the colors. You see, if I reduce, it reduces the intensity of our blue, but if I increase, the intensity of the blue increases, right? So temperature, like the word imply, just changing the tone of the design, right? For tint, you see, tint is going to like do is going to make the color of your design. You see, when I push down, give it this another shade of blue. If I push up, it's giving it this shade of pink, right? So basically, like the word implies, just adding like tints there. So highlight when you push up, it make any side of the design that is white, it adds more white to it, right? You can see the white here dialing up once we push up, right? So once we push down, everything white there dies. So that's the same thing works with shadow. So anything that is dark, right, gets intensified once we reduce. All right, anything that is light, anything that is dark, you want the darkness to reduce, you can increase like that. Okay, so all of these things, right, are things we might talk about when you're dealing with like real products like app or website, whichever case may be. You see, so you can click on minus to remove, you can click on plus to add, and you can choose any color of your choice. Okay, all right, so if I come down to I've spoken about stroke. You see, so one thing I'm going to say about stroke too is if I come down here, I draw a circle like this. If I add a stroke to this, okay, my stroke is on 1%, and I can make it like 5%, or let's even say 10. That's a lot. Okay, you see that? So we don't want a fill. We can difference in hiding your fill and removing your fill. All right, so if you remove your fill, the whole color is going to like jump out. If you hide it instead, the color will still be there, but it's going to be hidden. So I'm removing it in this instance. I'm going to come here. You can do that same thing we did basically. You can come to your gradient, and give this like any color of your choice. You see that? So you can also give like your stroke gradient. Okay. All right. So you can make it to be inside, outside, center, and all. See, the more you design, you understand the functionality of all of this, right? But I don't want to do one over Q with all of the things we are doing today. So let's go to effects. If I click on effect, all right, so we have like different features here. Inner shadow, okay. We have drop shadow. So drop shadow drops shadow basically, right? If I click on inner shadow, yeah, so I have the X and Y, position. So if I click on Y, you see the shadow is coming from the inside here. Why we go the other way instead, you see, it's going up, it's pushing the shadow up. Okay, so if I do blur, okay, so if I increase the blur to say 20, you see that it begins to blend in sort of, right? If I reduce to 0, it's sharp. If you increase it, the thing gets blurry, right? So we have spread too. All right, so we won't be able to like use spread, right? So like you said, spread is only supported for rectangle, ellipse, and all of those other ones. Okay, so I'll click on this rectangle here. So in this example, I'm going to click on effect. Okay, so we do inner shadow. All right, so for the inner shadow, increase this like we did earlier. All right, we can increase the spread now. You see, it's working for rectangles. I don't know why it doesn't work for star. Oh, okay. You can remove that effect. You can remove it by clicking on that minus, right? Let's do drop shadow for this one. So for drop shadow, you want to click on plus. You want to click on effects. All right, and then drop shadow. So drop shadow is going to like drop shadow at the back, basically. All right, you can increase something like this. So your blur is very important. Yeah, so it's going to elevate that shadow. It's going to remove the sharpness of the rectangle in the shadow. So you can see that this has gotten elevated. So spread is how far that shadow is going to be. So I like to keep it very close, right? And I avoid making this color to 100% because it gets harsh, kind of. So Figma themselves know I keep this thing to something 25. I basically like to use 10 to make it very invincible, right? So you see that if I hide this, it's flat. If I reveal, it's elevated, but that shadow is soft. All right, so please try to always use soft shadows. If I click on this again, we can go to layer blur. So layer blur basically gets this to the whole shape to be blurry. So you can create gradient effect with this. Okay, I'm not going to like go too deep into this. Right, so a background blur too. Right, there's a way background blur function. If you put something on background blur, say I am for instance, and you make this to say 30%. All right, and then you move this backward, you see that blur, you see the blur in the background there. All right, so these things are actually like always useful when you're doing prototype. Right, this background has gotten blurred, so anything that's coming under is going to like be blurry, that kind of stuff. Okay, so we also have noise. All right, so as the word imply, obviously it's going to be, let's make this back 100%. Can you see we're having noise there in the design? So you can increase, okay, the density is set to 100, you can reduce, you see the more increased the more noise it gets. All right, so we have other like advanced option. We just did all those for now. Texture, we also have like texture. Right, you can increase the radius of your texture, you can see the texture around this shape. Right, we have glass too. Okay, so glass gives our design this modern feel basically. So I can click on glass, you can see what we have with glass. All right, if I click here, the effect opens up. You can increase the depth of your glass. Let's increase the opacity back to 100%. You can increase the depth, the frost. Let me reduce this. All right, okay, I think I'll do a dedicated um tutorial for glass. All right, because I'm always like getting a lot of questions around glass and how glass work. All right, I'm thinking this tutorial is taking too long, so I want to like wrap this up ASAP. Let's treat text, because when you click on text, we have like new features jumping out. So let's say I am text. Okay, so when you click on text, you have like basic option, right? You have the first option to be your font family, right, or your typeface. Okay, I think we use the word typeface, so you can change it to anything you want. So you can change it to something like this. So you can also like edit the width, so you can make your width bold, right? You can make it light, you can use italics. Yeah, so this number here is the size, so you can make the size 120, it gets bigger. Okay, you can type anything 70, you see it gets smaller. All right, so if I duplicate this and push this down like that, you can reduce the size of this to say something 40. All right, you can turn this to inter. Okay, so you can remove the italics there, so you click on italics here and make it regular. So you can see that with inter now, this font, this typeface, it has like many weights you could use. So depending on the font you download, you will have different kind of weights. Okay, so if I type on this and say I am a small text, okay, so you see that now one thing Figma did is to create like a bounding box around like text. You see, they did that so that we won't need to double click inside of this and break text, anytime you want things to like break. You see, so I'm always advising my students not to do this, right? Because this bounding blue box around text, once you click on your text, you get this bounding box, so you can push to reduce the size. You see, I can click on this to also like break the text inside. All right, so there are times where people make this mistake where they leave the bounding box this long, yeah, and it start affecting the design. All right, so we have this layout, this sizing. So this one is auto width. If I click on this, it kills that space. So we have cases where we also extend the height of the bounding box, so you use the auto height to kill that too. All right, so we also have this one to be fixed. Okay, so if I push this like so and I say let it be fixed, so it stays fixed. So we are trying to tell Figma, oh, it wasn't a mistake, I want it this size. So otherwise, always try to keep it on the auto height feature, so you get your design to be good. Okay, so we have other options too, right? There's a big difference between alignment. All right, aligning this, let's get this to be longer. I make text and small, very small. Okay, I'm going to push this like this. All right, so that's long. We kill that. Okay, so if I select this and I start using position, you see what is happening? It is pushing the things the way I'm commanding it to, basically just the way we did that first thing. So it is different from text alignment. Okay, so with text alignment, let's say our text now, this text, we broke this text into this size, and then we select these two, and then we start using alignment. You see what alignment is doing? Alignment is aligning this text, right? It's different from position. So if I get this text to be extremely big like so, if I increase the width now like that, and I push this up, okay, so you see that this my text is central aligned. I can push it to the left like this. If I select this and this, the positioning is left, right, and then the alignment is left. You see, so if I align this to the middle, you see this text is still left aligned, but it's at the middle now for your text. So this text is at the middle now. If I left align it, it's still at the left alignment position, and my text is set to left align. All right, so if I push this thing to be right aligned, it's still going to be in the left aligned position that I've set it to be, right, but the text now has been right aligned. I don't know if I'm making sense at all. Okay, so if I say let's make this central line, can you see it is left aligned for text, but the position now is now the center. So if I click on this center now, you see my text is now central aligned, and then the position is central aligned. So even if I'm leaving my text as central alignment or center alignment, and I move this to the left, you see it stays at that center alignment. And the position now, we are telling you let your position be right, but let this text be center aligned. Okay, so we can push this text to be left aligned while it is still right in it, while the positioning is still right. You see, so now it is still left aligned. You can make the position to be center alignment. Okay, so I hope all of this is making sense. So if this is confusing, you just drop a question in the comments. I'm going to like attend to that. Okay, so that's that with position and all. So we also have like auto height, right? So line height rather. So if I click on this, I can increase the height between this text. You see the height is increasing. So if I drag across this, you see I'm getting like a lot of size happening there. If I do 120, see the space between them got increased. So that's what line height is for. All right, so I've made that 100%. You can make it 150%. Okay, so it's different from letter spacing. So if I increase this like so by 25 pixels, the spacing between each word or letters gets increased like that. Okay, so we have more options for text. When you click on this one here, you have like this option to, like we saw earlier, to align stuff, to justify, to basic edit with that we see in Microsoft Word. We also have these to remove, to make things in uppercase, small, capitalize the first word in title case, and then we have this small. Okay, this one doesn't support this, so you can make all your word in small cap, right? So we have vertical trim. Okay, so can you see it has cut that space for our bounding box. All right, so you can trim all of these. You can also like add a bullet to your word. I can come inside here, enter to create another bullet, right? Enter like that. Like I can make it into a number, right? So you can do list spacing. You can say 20, right, for all of our list. So you can do like the spacing between your list. Okay, so that's the space between each of the list. You can make it 40. So you see that the spacing between them gets you also have like paragraph spacing, right? So all of these things, we have truncate text. Yeah, so you can truncate like text. If you have like long text, you can use this feature to kill the space. Okay, so I want to bring this first class for beginner to the end. So to wrap this up, we have the last feature in Figma. If you click on frame, you can go to this last option to export, right? You can click on the word export there. So we have different feature like JPEG, saving format, SVG, PDF. So you can use JPEG, and this one is your scale. You can upscale this download by 1.5 or 2x, right? So the higher the number you use, the larger the file format or the size. Okay, so you can click on export home. So once you do that, that is going to like literally download. So you can save that to download that on your PC. Okay. I noticed I skipped layout guide. I'll take that in a dedicated. I'll use that as a dedicated class. I'm sure we really enjoyed this. If you did enjoy this, please leave a comment and like this video. Share with somebody that you like to see this. I'll be seeing you guys in the part 2 of this course. Until next time, please stay blessed.